Welcome back to the channel. I spent my entire week with this 2025 Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. I think this is the best CX-50 that's on offering right now because I think the hybrid market is the market you want to be in long term, especially if you're looking to actually buy a vehicle and just finance it and maybe not lease it. This thing is going to last you a long time. Why do I say that? Because it actually shares its drivetrain with the Toyota RAV4. So you're getting Toyota reliability inside of a Mazda package. I think that is one of the best combinations you can get here. So I'm going to show you the interior, the exterior, and of course a POV drive. Let's get into it. So as usual, starting off with the front end of the Mazda CX-50, you really won't notice any changes. They have made some internal changes to kind of fit the battery pack and stuff like that, but really to the naked eye, you can't tell the difference between a normal CX-50 and a CX-50 Hybrid, which is really good. But I've got the GSL trims. That means that I've got, you can see right there, a front-facing camera next to my blacked out grille. I really do like the daytime running LEDs. I like those little amber orange lights that you can see sort of in this shot. Looks really, really good. This front end, or most Mazda front ends, look really sporty, kind of more on the aggressive side, I would say, but I still really enjoy the look of them. So I mentioned that we share the same drivetrain as the Toyota RAV4. That is the 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine that's giving us 219 horsepower, 163 pound-feet of torque with the eCVT and, of course, all-wheel drive. There's also 3 electric motors here on board. So same thing, like I said, you get the ultimate reliability of Toyota with this nice sporty Mazda packaging. You can't go wrong. Now, like I said, I've got the GSL trim, which comes with 19-inch alloy wheels, 360-degree camera, power folding mirrors, ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, a 12-speaker Bose sound system, and a heads-up display, and that is just a little bit of it. I didn't take the full list because it's a long one. You get all the premium features that you can love and expect from Mazda's GSL trim. That's the top trim here in Canada. All right, so next up, we're moving on to the side profile for the Mazda CX-50. You can see it's winter, and this is the part that's going to pick up, you know, the most dirt. But honestly, the color that I have is not actually showing it that much. I'm sure the car in white would be a lot worse looking than this. So that's pretty good, but you take one drive on those highways and you just get absolutely dirty, and that's just kind of what it is. But a really nice side profile. I actually do kind of enjoy the plastic black trim that's around there. I kind of gives it like a little bit of a rugged look, especially here in the winter. You like the rugged look in the winter. And again, here's the thing that's going to differentiate really the Mazda CX-50 from a CX-50 Hybrid. That badge right there. Turn signal LEDs inside the mirrors, very nice. Power folding as well, really decent. We've got one-touch lock and unlocking doors. So far in the winter, the sensor has not failed on me, so that's good. I like the little bit of a tint in the back. Easy to get in, no problem. Really not a lot to say about the side profile. It looks, you know, a little bit on the compact side, but there is a ton of room inside. Trust me, you'll see. Now, last but not least is the rear for the Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. The kind of iconic, classic Mazda taillights that we're used to seeing on a lot of Mazdas. I like that they did not hide their exhaust, though. There's not much in terms of diffuser, but again, not really a sport SUV, so that's perfectly fine. I like the design, easy to see out of this back window here. Again, I've got the 360-degree camera setup, so I've got cameras back here as well. No problems whatsoever. Got the hybrid badge and the CX-50 Hybrid all-wheel badge there. Very nice. Let's take a look at the trunk space. Let's pop it open. Of course, it's an automatic tailgate. Very nice to see. And look at how much trunk space we have. And we're not actually sacrificing that much rear room to get this. I like the CX-50 carpet, the CX-50 logo carpet here. Also under the floor, you can see we've got an actual spare tire, a little bit of storage on the sides here, and you can fold the seats down. You are going to have a ton of room in here. This is a really nice trunk space, and me having a kid, that is something that is super important, so I'm really glad we have it here. So there you have it. That is going to do it for our exterior tour of the Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. Let's hop on the inside because there's more to go over, and then of course right after that, the POV drive. Let's get into the rear. All right, as usual, we have the rear for the Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. Up first, you can see it's really snowy and windy out here, but not a lot of crazy stuff, not a lot of crazy materials going on here on the door panel. But on the inside, we do have this nice black with this nice orange stitching throughout. Looks pretty premium, looks pretty, you know, higher class than what I was expecting, honestly. So I do enjoy having that. It's very nice. It's plenty of room to get in here, but I'm gonna actually go on the other side and hop in there. Now I'm getting in on the passenger side just simply because I have a lot more room and it's easier to get me and the camera in here. But I could fit behind my driver profile pretty easily. Wouldn't be the most comfortable thing. As you can see, I don't have a ton of space back there, but what I do have here is 3 levels of heated seats, which is very nice, and 2 USB ports right down there. A ton of space here when, you kind of move up the passenger seat just a little bit. It does help things quite a bit, help things be a little bit more comfortable. Ton of foot space. I really do like that. Ton of headroom too. A nice kind of dual pane sunroof there. I like that as well. I do not enjoy, though, how this liner does not match. So I wish this was black, especially in the top trim of the Mazda CX-50. I feel like, it just should be the same color. I don't like seeing kind of the base color here. I just, I would like to see the upscale be the upscale, right? So next up, we also have a little kind of cup holders and also an armrest should you need. Really good, nice little bit of a window there. Nothing too crazy going on back here, but again, we've got vents, we've got heated seats. I really do enjoy that part. So really decent amount of room as well for the back seat of the Mazda CX-50 Hybrid, so hard to complain about it, but let's hop up front. So next up, we have the front seat for the Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. You can see we get a little bit more material here with that orange. Same thing on the seats, power adjusted seats for both the driver and the passenger. Little CX-50 logo right there, but let's actually hop in because that's where things are much more comfortable at here. So once we're in the front seat, greeted with kind of the typical Mazda steering wheel that you're used to seeing. Typical logo, all physical buttons, which if you know me, I really do appreciate that. So we've got our volume control, kind of volume tuning and stuff like that. Also, we've got an info button, which will allow us to control our digital or semi-digital gauge cluster. You can see there. Cruise control settings are over on the right-hand side. So speaking of the kind of mix of digital and analog gauge clusters, I don't hate it. I just feel like at this point, 2025, Mazda is maybe falling a little bit behind with the gauge clusters because a lot of its competitors are, especially in the top trims, are all digital. They're all a little bit more customizable as well. It would have been nice to see Mazda take that step. I think it would have improved this platform quite a bit. Just that minor little change would have made a big difference. But hopefully we will see it coming from Mazda here shortly. I don't think they're that much off the beat because this isn't bad. Like I can see, just the basic kind of speedometer there. You can also have with your battery, so you can see also your fuel economy. You can see right now I'm doing 9.3 liters per 100 kilometers, but I've only driven about 70 kilometers. That's pretty much all you can see because the other two gauges to the left and right are analog. But it does kind of show you, your charge. So when I'm kind of braking or slowing down, it will show me that the car is trying to charge the battery, and then you've got your gas tank and your engine temperature right there as well. So it's not a terrible thing to look at. I've also got a little heads-up display. I doubt you can see it though because of all the snow out right now. Over to the left-hand side, we have, our 360-degree camera button. We've got 2 memory seat settings, and we have the button for our automatic tailgate, so I like that. Now, if I press this button, the view button, you can see I've got a 360-degree camera setup, which is a small vehicle. You don't really need it, but I like that I have it, and I kind of like that it shows like the base of the car as well there. It's kind of almost like a 3D setup. Very nice, very cool. You can kind of switch the view from front. You can also have the side views if you need to. It's got everything, really decent quality as well, so no complaints there. We'll stay on this infotainment display. It's the basic Mazda stuff, not a lot in terms of settings. Wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. You can, in this configuration, it is not a touchscreen, but if I turn on my Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, it will become a touchscreen, and I can use it like that. So you kind of have the both ways, but normally I am just using this knob and the quick buttons. I do like the knob. Some people don't really enjoy it. I think it's nice when you're driving along, you want to change something. It's kind of easier to do that than to reach all the way up there on the dashboard to touch the screen. It's a much better setup this time around, or usual setup that Mazda has. I prefer to use a knob, but no hate if you absolutely don't like it, because this is something that people either really like or absolutely hate. It doesn't seem to be an in between. But other than that, we have our power button, start stop. We also have the dual zone automatic climate control, very easy to understand. Ventilated seats, heated steering, all the stuff that I would need here, especially in this cold Canadian winter that I'm currently experiencing. Normal shifter, nothing crazy there. It's got like a little sport mode where you can put the transmission, and then we have our drive modes. So drive modes is power, normal, and trail, and it kind of left me like scratching my head a little bit because this is the kind of, I guess, eco version of the Mazda CX-50, but we don't have a actual dedicated eco mode for the car. I'm assuming that normal mode just means eco mode in this case, but it would just kind of weird that there's not a dedicated mode. We also do have an EV button, so if I press that, it will turn the car into EV mode up until a certain speed. At that point, it will kick on the engine again, or if the temperature or if it needs help to warm up the car, whatever it is, like it just did, I turned the button off and it turned the engine on because it's cold out. Typically, I've been noticing the engine not turn off that much when idling because I think it's just cold outside, and to keep my heat, it needs the engine versus the battery. But if you go slow enough in the parking lots and stuff, and especially in reverse, it's usually always in that EV mode. I've got a brake hold, pretty standard stuff. I got my quick access buttons, I got my volume controls, I've got this kind of dual opening storage center console thing with 2 USB-C ports in it. Really hard to complain about there. A little bit of cup holder storage. So overall, I really like the design and the layout of the Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. I kind of like how they put at least some type of orange stitching to kind of differentiate from the black. Same thing you can see there with the passenger seat. The seats are a little bit difficult to get comfortable in. I found, like, I'm gotten used to it now, but when I first sat in it, it felt like there was like this bubble right in this area right here. And it still kind of feels like that. They're a little bit harder, a little bit on the firm side than I would enjoy, but you really have to sit in these. I think seating and seating comfort is very subjective, so you're going to want to check it out for yourself. But overall, that's going to do it for my interior tour of the Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. Let me know what you think so far, but let me strap that GoPro to my forehead and let's take it on the road. All right, so let's head out now on the road with the Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. We're going to go through this parking lot, but you can see there's a bunch of snow and stuff, and I've been driving through snow basically all week here with absolutely no problem. It's been such a breeze. I've got decent winter tires. I've also got a pretty good all-wheel drive system that I've been experiencing here in this Mazda. My windshield's a little dirty, so let's see if we can get that to wipe itself. There we go. Much better. Okay, so yeah, you can see I'm driving through this slush, through this, just garbage that is the streets of, the Montreal, Quebec area. Horrible. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. But I have a really good all-wheel drive system, and this is the first time I feel like we've seen the sun in weeks. But other than that, I mean, the Mazda CX-50 Hybrid is honestly the perfect blend between two brands, because we have the heart of a Toyota RAV4 with kind of the packaging and, tuning of the Mazda. So you kind of get like the sportiness a little bit, like maybe something a little bit more dialed in than something like a RAV4. The RAV4 to me feels like, or seems like, a little bit more of an appliance, right? Just because of its ultimate reliability and stuff like that. Maybe the steering isn't as dialed in as something Mazda, right? I just feel like, you get kind of the best of both worlds, right? Because this does have the Toyota heart, has a Toyota drivetrain. So you are getting, the reliability, the access to service, the easeability to service. I think that's all really good and right there at your fingertips. But just honestly, the reliability is a huge deal, because I don't think people are buying CX-50 hybrids necessarily on a lease. I think you're buying this thing to keep it and to, run through 100 kilometers or 100,000 miles on it. I think that's what you need to do. And I think this car can do it. Now, from what I've been able to research as well, Mazda have really done a good job at making this look and feel similar, or as close as they could get to the real CX-50, non-hybrid. But of course, this one gets more power. We got a little bit of a jolt from our battery pack. So this, to me, I think might be the best CX-50 available, because you got the fuel economy and you got the little extra power boost here. Now, handling is pretty good as well. It's just, you don't feel too much off center, so like slightly to the left or slightly to the right, like you can't really tell, how far the vehicle's gonna go. But when you really load up, like, see, we're gonna take a turn right here. When you really load up, the steering is nice and firm, nice and tight, exactly how I personally like it. It's very good. I can predict where the wheels are going to go, what the steering wheel is going to do, even in, some heavy snow that I've been driving through this week. So really no issue there. I mean, this car is more meant to drive in a straight line for long periods of time. And at that point, you're not really using your hybrid system that much, because when I'm on the highway, I'm mostly in the gas. I'm mostly, using my gas tank. But when I'm in the city, lots of stop signs, stoplights, and traffic, I'm using a lot of that EV power. So as you can see, like I'm doing right now, driving through a more residential area, more quiet area, where I could actually force the car to go into fully EV mode. It's going to turn the engine off. And what's the cool thing is I don't even really notice that it's done that. Like, I can't even tell that it's turned my EV mode, or it's turned my gas engine off. So I didn't even feel it kick off. I just know that it's off now, because the car does get a little bit more quiet.
You don't really hear that engine rumble that much. You can see turning radius is also pretty decent here. We're nice and compact, right? So I can kind of turn in these little residential areas. Perfect for your mall crawling stuff too that you're going to want to do. So look, I'm in it right now. And depending on how hard I press the accelerator, it will, you know, either engage or disengage my engine. So right now you can see I'm at 25 kilometers in EV mode, just gliding through it. No problems, powering the wheels of the car. Easy, really easy to understand and use. And also, of course, when I'm braking and stuff like that, or when I'm coasting on the highway, it is putting a little bit of that power back into our hybrid system and then giving us that much more EV range. So you can see I stepped on it a little bit hard there and the gas engine kicked on, but I didn't feel the rumble at all, which I think is super important. So interestingly enough, like I said, I don't have a eco mode. I just have a normal, a trail mode, and a power mode. So let's go into the power mode a little bit here. Now, you can see when I kind of mash the throttle, not a lot of action happens, but a lot of noise happens. But the pickup and the speed is definitely decent, don't get me wrong, right? But you're not buying the car at all for that. So throw any notion of like straight line speed completely out the window, but it is, I think, a lot better than what the normal CX-50 is. So here, we'll punch it again. You know, it's a very loud drone, and I think that comes with just Toyota engines in general. The engines that I've had with Toyota, whenever I press the gas like that, it does give me quite a bit of you know, a louder noise than you really need for the speed we're going. But look, it's definitely not terrible, and I honestly don't really use the power mode at all. I'm mostly almost always in normal mode. Trail mode, I think I've used it maybe once just to see what the difference would be, but really I'm always in normal mode, and I think that's the best way to go. And check this out. So I'm almost at 200 kilometers of just driving, and I've done 9.4 liters per 100 kilometers. That is really, really good. And I think the normal CX-50 might be a little bit higher than that. And I do quite a bit of city driving, like stop-go lights and stuff like that. A little bit of this kind of backroad stuff while I'm filming some things. So, you know, I do quite a bit of both, but more city than anything else. And I think that's where the CX-50 is going to shine. You know, it's your point A to point B mall crawler. You know, take your kids to school, take your kids to sports kind of thing, because you definitely have room to do that as well. I don't mind the design. I think they made it look really good. I tend to prefer a Mazda design and a Mazda kind of tuning versus something from Toyota. Toyota, I don't know, sometimes it depends on the trim, but I feel like, you know, if you want to get like a lower trim, you kind of have to, you know, compromise on looks a little bit. And don't get me wrong, there is definitely people who love that look and don't like the Mazda look. That's purely subjective. When it comes to comfort, ride quality is decent. Not the greatest thing in the world, but I think that's because I don't find the seats to be that comfortable. I find them more on the firm side, and I find you know, where your butt sits is just a little bit awkward. I find like there's this bump all the time, and you only really notice it when you get in. You get used to it, but like first time you sit in a Mazda after a while, or in the CX-50, after a while of being in another car that doesn't have this weird seat thing, you notice it right away. So yeah, that's gonna about do it for all of my thoughts on the Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. I think it's a really good platform. I think it was a super intelligent move for Mazda to go ahead and kind of pair up with Toyota with the RAV4 engine and the RAV4 drivetrain, because again, you just get that reliability, you get that ease of service, and it's just a solid thing all around for, I think, both parties. And I think, you know, I would take the Mazda CX-50 Hybrid over the RAV4. I just find that the CX-50 Hybrid looks a little better interior and exterior wise. But if it comes down to comfort alone, and that's what I'm judging whether or not I'm going to buy that vehicle, I would have to kind of drive the RAV4 for the first time. I haven't actually gotten hands-on seat time in the RAV4, but I'm sure as the progress of 2025 goes, I'm sure I'll eventually get it, and I'll be able to compare it directly to the Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully I can get my hands on that a little bit later on in the year. But let me know what you think of the CX-50 Hybrid. Do you drive a current CX-50? Are you looking to switch to a hybrid? Is this going to be your first hybrid? Are you in the market at all for one of these Mazda CX-50 Hybrids? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think about my color, my interior design. Let me know everything. And of course, the owners of the CX-50 Hybrid, let me know how it is to actually own, what's the reliability been like, any weird glitches in the software, anything like that, because again, it doesn't happen to me. I am only in these cars for a week, and they're usually absolutely flawless for that time. So that being said, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. I will see you in the next week. See you in the next car. Take care.